Okay, media madness. First big change in the network news hierarchy has been implemented. It's a woman named Bari Weiss, Bari Weiss. Big on the internet, runs the Free Press. Okay, used to work for the New York Times, quit because she said it was far too liberal. She is pro-Israel, anti-woke. She has been appointed by CBS News' new ownership, Paramount Skydance, as the editor-in-chief. CBS rank and file are freaking out because it's 90% is Tim Graham. He is the executive editor of Newsbusters, which is a conservative watchdog group that follows the media very closely. So as you know, Tim, I used to work for CBS News. I was there when Rather was the anchor in liberal culture then. Pretty intense liberal culture when I was there. Now it's off the chart. What do you think is going to happen with new management at CBS News?
Well, it has to change somehow. You know, she fired the first shot, so to speak, in this memo she sent out when she took office. Just the title editor-in-chief makes all the liberals nervous. And especially when I think it was items 6 and 7, she said, we are going to try to provide equal scrutiny of the political parties. And we are going to try to ensure a diversity of viewpoints. Both of those are extremely opposed to what we generally see on CBS, specifically on some programs like 60 Minutes. We're already seeing there's complaints saying, please don't touch the crown jewels of 60 Minutes and CBS News Sunday Morning. Those are two of the most aggressively tilted shows where you have fierce scrutiny of Trump and the Republicans, and you have fierce publicity for Biden, Harris, and the like.
Right.
So I mean, it's going to change.
We know the CBS Sunday morning program because they flat out refused to put me on to talk about my books. I'm a best-selling nonfiction author in the world. That's Jane Pauley, by the way. Jane looks so nice out there in her little demure outfits and all of that. Hardcore leftist. 60 Minutes been taken over. When Hewitt and Wallace were there running it, wasn't that left. It was a little bit, but not crazy. Now it's crazy. They want to get President Trump to do an interview. I talked to the president about this on Friday. He's still up in the air about it, but he's got, Mr. Trump has the advantage now, because if they do anything untoward, they got to answer for it, whereas they didn't have to answer to the old CBS News hierarchy. So that in itself is a big change, correct?
Yeah, it certainly is. And what I enjoyed the last time when President Trump sat down with Leslie Stahl, they recorded it themselves. And we got these great nuggets, like Leslie Stahl trying to tell Donald Trump, you can't verify Hunter Biden's laptop. Right? We can't do that. And then they did. But yeah, it's plainly anti-journalism to say we cannot, or more likely we refuse to do work that embarrasses Democrats. That's at least what the memo says that Bari Weiss is trying to change.
Well, look, Scott Pelley hates Trump, hates him. And then just when he gives his speeches outside of CBS, I mean, he says it. Pelley's not a phony. He just says, I hate him. So who's going to interview him on 60 Minutes? Can't have Leslie, can't have Pelley. Who are you going to have? I don't know who the rest of them are. I mean, they just kind of parade them in and out. Now, say that CBS moderates a little bit, and I believe it will. I was on with Major Garrett for Confronting Evil, and Major is a colleague of mine from Fox, and he's now a big CBS guy, and he put me on right away. We had a very good discussion. So that was a shocker to me, came out of nowhere. And so I said, well, maybe this change in the air. I don't see change in the air for Disney, ABC, and Comcast, NBC. Do you see any change over there in those two places?
I would say no. I mean, NBC is sort of shedding MSNBC.
They're done, right? It's over.
So MSNBC might actually get worse. But yeah, I don't think there's anybody inside those buildings that are going to say, why don't we try applying equal scrutiny to both parties? I mean, look, this is exactly what we've tried to suggest would be the way to do it. The old-fashioned way to do it is you would first of all you grant access to both parties, and then you would try to ask each of them fair and somewhat challenging questions. And that's just not what we've got.
Okay.
Instead, yeah,
But
Pelle's doing
Disney,
interviews with Biden where they edit him out.
Disney's taking it on the chin, though. I mean, their theme park attendance is down. They're getting cancellations for Hulu and their cable out. So, because traditional Americans know the fix is in, and they know they can take it out on Disney. Comcast a little bit different. They let MS. It's MS Now. They're on their own, and that's going to fail because they just don't have any resources. So I give them a year. And they're not going to pay anybody anything. And that's another thing. Salaries are going to drop all over the place. Let's get to cable because we are talking about MS Now. So the cable operations, they're not under the same scrutiny as the network news because the FCC has no power over cable at all. None. Whereas the FCC does have power over the three networks. Does that make a difference?
Well, you'd think it does now because one of the complaints about whether it was Jimmy Kimmel, whether it was the lawsuits against CBS, for example, they all thought, well, if you have any business where you want to acquire a media property and the FCC or the FTC has to approve it, then Donald Trump's going to tell you you need to do X, Y, and Z. So they've been concerned about that. So yes, the cable operations don't have that fear. But the problem is, as you suggested, Nielsen now tries to measure these things, where they said half of Americans watching television are watching it on streaming, and the other half, it's cable and broadcast combined. And we certainly know, I know from my own children, they're not watching
No,
broadcast TV. They're not
it's
listening to
over.
broadcast radio.
Absolutely over. My urchins haven't watched a network show in years. Now they're young adults and they still don't watch it. So the clock is ticking on all of them. Hey, Tim, thanks very much. If you get any inside stuff, let us know, and we appreciate you helping us out.